Hello and welcome. Have you ever had a moment where life suddenly knocked the wind out of you? A moment where everything you expected, planned, or dreamed was flipped upside down? In acceptance and commitment therapy, we call this the reality slap. And the painful expanse that opens up immediately after is called the reality gap. Today, we're going to explore what happens when life doesn't go according to plan, whether through a sudden loss, a broken relationship, a health diagnosis, or simply the daily sting of unfulfilled expectations, and how we can find genuine inner peace, resilience, and purpose, even when we cannot change the circumstances. So, what exactly is the reality gap? Simply put, it's the gap between the reality we have and the reality we want. Think of standing on the edge of a canyon. On one cliff is where you currently find yourself, dealing with grief, illness, heartbreak, or disappointment. On the other cliff is where you desperately wish you were, healthy, connected, loved, or successful. The rule of thumb in human psychology is simple. The wider the gap, the heavier the pain. When a small gap opens, say a missed flight or a minor disagreement, we feel temporary annoyance. But when a massive gap opens, a loved one passes away, a marriage ends, or a career path vanishes, a storm of emotions surges through that canyon: grief, fear, anger, guilt, or envy. Our automatic human instinct, whenever a gap opens, is to try to force it shut. But what happens when we can't close it? Well, to understand how we heal, we have to distinguish between two kinds of fulfillment. First, there is external fulfillment. This is what happens when we successfully change our circumstances to close the gap. We work hard, solve the problem, and align reality with our wishes. External fulfillment is wonderful when it's possible. However, in life, many reality gaps cannot be immediately closed or closed at all. You cannot bring back a lost loved one. You cannot instantly erase a chronic illness. If our happiness relies exclusively on external fulfillment, we stay trapped in bitterness and despair whenever reality refuses to cooperate. This brings us to inner fulfillment. Inner fulfillment is the ability to cultivate deep peace, groundedness, and vitality, even while the gap remains wide open. It's about learning to build a meaningful, rich life inside the landscape you've actually been given, rather than waiting for the landscape to change. How do we actually build inner fulfillment when reality hurts? In ACT, we rely on four key pillars. First, be kind to yourself. Bring warmth and compassion to your pain instead of harsh self-criticism. Second, drop anchor, grounding your body and mind when your emotional storms roll in. Third, unhook your mind, stepping back from the intrusive thought patterns that magnify your suffering. Fourth, stand up for your values, rebuilding meaningful action step by step. Let's walk through each of these pillars together. Pillar one is self-compassion. The first step, whenever a reality gap hits, is self-compassion. When bad things happen, our internal voice often turns cruel. We tell ourselves, I should be stronger. Why can't I pull it together? Or it's my fault. Self-compassion flips this response on its head. Imagine your closest friend came to you in tears, heartbroken over a traumatic loss. Would you berate them? Would you tell them to get over it? Of course not. You would offer them a warm drink, a supportive hand, and a listening ear. Holding yourself kindly means acknowledging this hurts deeply right now, and it's okay that I feel overwhelmed. I am going to treat myself with gentleness today. Whether the shock of a reality gap hits, an emotional storm inevitably surges. You might feel panicky, furious, or even numb. In a sea of storm, an anchor doesn't make the storm magically disappear. It stops the ship from being swept away or smashed against the rocks. To drop anchor in your life, remember this simple acronym, ACE, ACE. A, acknowledge. Gently name what you're feeling. I notice a heavy sadness in my chest. C, connect. Come back into your body. Feel your feet flat on the floor. Stretch your shoulders. Take a slow breath. You can do this however you want and change it up how it fits you. But the important thing is to actually do movements in your body where you realize you do still have some control over what you do. And then E is for engage. Re-engage with the world right in front of you. What are 5 things you can see? What can you touch or hear right now? This helps move you from your mind to the present physical environment where you live and exist. Our third pillar is unhooking from the mind. When a reality gap opens, the mind becomes a story machine. It starts hooked up spirals. My life is over. Nothing will ever be good again. Why did this happen to me? In ACT, we call this cognitive fusion. When a thought feels so heavy and real that it swallows us whole. Unhooking, or diffusion, means stepping back and viewing your thoughts as passing words or clouds across the sky. Instead of arguing with your mind or letting it push you around, simply notice. Ah, my mind is playing the life is unfair story again. When you stop fighting your thoughts and turn off the struggle switch, you free up massive energy to focus on what actually matters. Finally, we reach pillar 4, rebuilding around values. Even when a reality gap cannot be closed, you still have the power to choose who you want to be inside this new reality. Ask yourself, given this unwanted pain, what kind of human being do I want to be? How do I want to treat myself and others? Values aren't about grandiose goals. They're about directional living. If you value kindness, taking one micro step like calling a friend, drinking a glass of water, or making your bed is a vote for the person you choose to be. You plant new seeds step by step in the soil of your new reality. To wrap up our session today, remember this. Pain in life is inevitable. Every single one of us will face reality gaps, moments where life feels unfair or even heartbreaking. But suffering, the endless struggle against reality, is something we can soften. When you cannot close the gap between reality and your desires, you can always open your heart to reality. As we wrap up today, take a moment to reflect. What is one small act of kindness or one small values-guided step you can offer yourself today? Thank you for your time and your presence.